Welcome everybody to the Wednesday, March 10th Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm Neil Maximilian, your chair. I have no announcements. I do want to recognize Clarence Fanto from the Berkshire Eagle, and I also see that CTSB TV is recording the meeting. Are there any other folks that are recording the meeting from the press? Okay, hearing none, I would ask in accordance with state law that members of the board announce themselves out loud, please.
Ed Lane, Board of Selectmen here.
Mary Beth
Dave
Mitz,
Roach.
Board of Selectmen.
Dave Roach.
And Neil Maximilian. Sorry, Dave.
We're here.
Okay, we're here. Citizens Open Forum. Are there members of the public that are here and wish to speak? Now is your time to be heard.
Yes, my name is Elliot Morse, and I want to talk about the Gateway petition. My name is
Oh, there you are.
I'd like to talk about the Gateway petition.
The floor is yours, Elliot.
Okay, I live two from the Gateway, and since they came here, they're the best neighbor I could possibly have. They've kept the building up. They've tried different things in the most difficult year we've had in I don't know how long, and they made the place better. They've tried some things that haven't worked. They've tried others, but I couldn't ask for having a better neighbor. So that's pretty much it. I'm very impressed, and I think they've really added to our street.
Okay, thank you, Elliot. If you wish to speak, either you can use, if you have the new Zoom, there should be a little raise hand toggle, or just simply raise your hand on screen and we'll call on you to speak.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Yes, of course.
Elliot's message was garbled. I wonder if you could summarize it in a few words.
Elliot, could you possibly re-summarize your message and maybe sit a little closer to your mic?
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. This mic of mine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me speaking now?
Yes.
Gotcha.
In very summary form, I'm here tonight to support the petition of the Gateway for the license they want for beverages, alcohol, and
Okay.
other things. They're the best neighbor one.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, I've got two raised hands. I'm going to unmute. Is it Renee Rhoda?
Chris, if I may, before you do that, I recognize that Elliot's mic was having a little trouble. Elliot, please jump in if this is inaccurate, but I believe that your intention was to say that you support the Gateway's petition and you feel they've been a very good neighbor, and that is why you support them.
Yes, that's exactly right. Summarized nicely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
And,
Okay, so I guess we're moving on to Renee Rota.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you, even on Zoom. I'm not sure that now is the appropriate time to speak, but when you get to the dog park issue, I would really appreciate speaking then.
and then Carrie Stein.
Go ahead, Carrie. It looks like your mic is muted.
There we go. We unmuted now.
There we go. We're good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. This is more a it's a question and it regards, I know there has been some conversation around zoning in regards to the Cork and Hearth and Forest Wild and what might be in Lenox. And my only question is, I noticed yesterday that there are survey marks now from pretty much Bramble Lane through the Lee Beach down to what could be the town line. And I'm just wondering, has the town of Lenox ordered a survey for that property, or is it unrelated?
I might be able to answer that, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
I can't say specifically if it, if it really is indeed a survey or not, but I know that our DPW had done some survey work down there for a nearby piece of property. And they were looking or trying to contact the surveyors to, once the snow melted, where they could see pins, to do some more work there. So it could be related to that, but I can't say for certain if that's what it is. But
Okay, I appreciate it. I saw all the work and I figured this would be the place, the people to ask.
I can't say for certain, but it may be that.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, Carrie, I'll clarify that we certainly have not gone out and procured or hired anybody with intent to survey the land and determine anything new or different since we last spoke on this topic. Lee has not met. Their meetings are, I believe, either the 22nd or 23rd. Chris, you can help me on that.
Yeah, 22nd.
So there's been no formal action on our part in terms of activity related to survey or additional communication to Lee regarding any particular position.
Got it. And that's what I was asking, whether it was initiated from Lenox in some way or part of something else. So that definitely answers the question.
Okay, good.
Thanks very much.
Public comment. Any other that wish to speak?
I don't see any hands raised at the moment, but if you don't have the hands raised function, if you want to just start your video and raise your hand. I don't see anyone, so I think that is everyone who wants to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll move on from Citizens Open Forum to the consent agenda. I'm going to read it. Members, please put a hold on anything you wish to hold. And then there are a couple of items that require us to open public hearings, and we'll work through it as we go. Okay, so on our consent agenda, we have a 2021 seasonal all alcohol club license renewal. It is time once again to renew the seasonal license for 2021 for the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Saranac. It's the only seasonal license we issue, and they have filed all the appropriate paperwork. There is an in-holders license request from LH Manager Northeast LLC. They're seeking an in-holders license for their property located at 194 Pittsfield Road. Later in the meeting, they will also be seeking an annual all alcohol hotel license. Donations acceptance. The Community Center Director, Darlene McCauley, is seeking your approval to accept a donation to the Community Center. Also donation, Police Chief Steve O'Brien is seeking your approval to accept a donation to the Police Department. We have an alternate appointment to the Historic District Commission. Ken Fowler is seeking to be appointed to the Historic District Commission to fill a vacancy as an alternate member. And then finally, we have some shifting around on the ZBA. Clayton Hambrick is seeking appointment as a full-time member, replacing Cliff Snyder, who wishes to be appointed as an associate member, replacing Clayton.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair?
Okay. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chair, just a point of order. I
Yes.
don't think we accepted the minutes of our last meeting.
You are correct, Ed. We skipped right over them, didn't we?
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 24th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so accepted. Okay, that was my gaffe. Sorry about that, folks. We try to go in order. Relative to the consent agenda, our first item is for Saranac. We do not need to hold a public meeting for that. And I don't believe we have a motion for that either.
No.
So that was.
The second item,
Oh, sorry. I was going to say
Go
that
ahead.
was approved. That was approved as the first item on the consent agenda. I think with Mr. Lane's motion, or the first motion prior
Yeah.
to the motion for the minutes, I think we're on to general business.
that's correct. Yep. Now we're moving on to the inholder's license request from LH Manager Northeast LLC for 194 Pittsfield Road.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think, as the general business goes, I think the dog park was number one on there
Agreed.
under general business.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking at a recommended motion from Chris that we would have a public hearing on this, or is that not correct?
No,
That would be indeed for the inholder's license request that you had just read. However, there's no anticipated motion for the dog park discussion, which would be the first item under general business. I believe that's more of a discussion item at the request of a citizen. But
Gotcha.
I don't have a recommended motion for that at this meeting, although there may very well be one at a subsequent meeting.
Okay, let's move on to general business and the dog park discussion. Are there folks here to present on that subject?
Yes, and I'm unmuting Ms. Rhoda again.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. There's nothing I love more than the town of Lenox. I've been a devoted Berkshire goer for 50 years, and I'm very proud to call 12 Elks my home. The only thing that would make my life happier is if we had a dog park. And you may not know that prior to COVID, over 500 licenses were distributed to Lenox residents, 500 dogs. And the number is going up. We all know about how tourism is increasing. Homes are in very short supply. And I really do think that rather than have our main streets, littered with dog poop, it would be so nice to have a wonderful place for those dogs to play. And so I am going to ask you, what happened the last time around? I know that there were a number of citizens who really did want to get this done and accomplished. And I would like to understand a little bit about the history of why this fell apart and how best to proceed.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I can shed a little light on that.
Why don't you, Dave?
Okay, so a few years ago, Ed was on the board at the time, but we certainly warmly received the concept of a dog park. However, our problems lie in a location. We looked at a couple potential locations, and Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but none of them really panned out. And the ones that did were pretty expensive. So the committee at the time, I think Ken Fowler was in charge of it. We're looking at alternative sites, and we never got back to it.
Well, according to the animal control expert in Lenox, Kennedy Park is not a good location. I know that was one of the sites which was being considered. There are lots of people who do leave their dogs off the leash. There have been animal bites there. And so having a confined area for the dogs and very responsible pet owners, I think would really enhance our wonderful town. What other sites were being considered?
Well, first of all, we certainly agree with you. And Kennedy Park was a very small portion of it behind, behind Route 7 and 20 was looked at, but Kennedy Park didn't think that was a good site. And then we moved up the road a little bit across from the Magnum Motel, that
Mhm.
parcel there. And
Mhm.
we never came to a portion on that. And then they started looking at alternative sites, but they were pretty expensive. Some of the ones that they thought. A portion of our Laurel Lake property down in Lee Lenox, that field that we had, they looked at that, but I don't think we ever resolved. We never came to a definitive answer on that. So, yeah, I mean, we agreed. The Board of Selectmen at the time agreed that a dog park was going to be an asset to the town, but we just couldn't find that one location that everybody thought was ideal. And maybe you could check with Ken Fowler. Do you know Ken Fowler?
Yes, I do. And I think he's been busy. He hasn't returned my telephone calls. And I know it must have been very frustrating for him because he wanted this to happen very, very, very much. What if somebody were to donate a parcel of land?
Certainly an option that we look at.
Mhm. Is there a baseball field right in the middle of Lenox? I understand that that would possibly be an area adjacent to the baseball field where we could perhaps have a fenced in area.
Look, I think if you get some alternative sites listed and get some people interested in it, the fencing was relatively expensive, but they were going to start a fund to pay for that. I mean, I think if you come with a proposal, we'd be
Okay.
glad to look at it.
That would be wonderful. I'll look forward to that. Lou, do you have any suggestions or questions?
You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
And I have another resident, two residents now with their hands raised as
Oh,
well.
good.
Muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Louis Pollock. I'm also a resident. I live on High Crest Road, and I would like to suggest that I'm not sure how the government works in something like this. If it was a good idea 2 years ago, and we just couldn't find a piece of property that was appropriate, then it should still be a good idea now.
Yeah.
And how can we formally address this rather than just private citizens saying, I've got some land that I'd like to use for a dog park? It would be much better if the town was involved.
Well, the town certainly will have to give its blessing if there's going to be a dog park, but in the previous case, there was a group of people who were going to make a proposal to the town. The fencing, I think, Ed, what do you think? Wasn't it about $15,000 or $20,000 to fence the place in?
Yeah, it was quite a bit. And there were, it turned into a lot of other issues. And there was Kenny Fowler was the lead, we'll say. And we looked at several different things. We actually talked with the town of Lee to do something on the line somewhere where we could be, together with it. And yeah, we felt that it was good for a lot of reasons, just for local people to have, but also for people when they come here to visit, a place to walk a dog. That's an important thing. People travel with their pets, and we realize that's an important thing. And it was just kind of an ad hoc group that was spearheading this thing, and it just lost some steam. There's the maintenance issue that comes with it, the upkeep, the initial cost. Those are they're real things, and it just lost some steam. So it'd be, if there's, the town tries to do everything they can do. They can't do everything though. And so
Sure.
if there's a group that feels, this way I feel, that feels that this is important and you could work with us, we're supportive of it. I can't say we can spearhead it and come up with all the answers right away. We got a lot of things on our plate. And, but usually something like this, if we get a group of people that are very interested, want to put the effort in, want to help with all those issues, ongoing things like the maintenance of it, who's going to pick up afterwards, all those kind of things that go along with everything. That'd be the way to go with this. And obviously there's some steam behind it right now. And I'd encourage you folks to get together, talk with us some more about it. It's difficult for us to just say, okay, let's make a dog park somewhere.
Oh, of course. But since we've never done this before, we don't want to step on toes in the government. And we'd certainly I'm glad that you're open to it. Is there a formal way of saying, well, we have a committee that includes township folks as well that can speak on behalf of the town? Or is it just us forming I know we have enough citizens to have a committee, but rather than just come at this, with a proposal, I think it would be a lot easier to include the town. I know we can raise money for what it would take to get one park or more, if that's what it is, and take a fresh look at it. And so I don't know what does it take to get the town to involve itself in new?
It really doesn't take much. We're actually, believe it or not, a pretty friendly bunch. And we like to work with people and on these kind of things, because this is a good project. It's a good collaborative project where we can get folks in town involved and us involved and everybody involved. So you won't get any pushback from encouragement and help from town hall. Don't worry about that. We like, this is a fun thing to do. It's more fun than some of our things we have to do, is work with the public and resolve these kind of things.
Well, would you like to join us if we had a kind of a plenary planning meeting?
I would.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
great.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. What would the next step be? What would you like us to do? We do have a group of citizens that would like to see this and support this project. Do we need to find and present locations to you initially? What should we do?
Well,
Renee, if I may step in, I just joined the select board shortly before this sort of fizzled out the last time when Ken was running things. But I would suggest to you that, in no particular order, but the more organized and the more homework you can do, the better. We are emerging from a time of very strict cost control from COVID, and our town has been very well run fiscally, so we are not as badly hurt as other towns. But we do have competing requests from many different directions. So, and we also don't have as direct of a handle as you folks on how much of a desire there is for something like this.
I've talked to my dog and he is all in favor of it.
Yeah. I'm sure my dogs would be too.
Well, there
But,
are 500 dog owners in Lenox that might be in favor.
Yes,
of
I understand. I understand that it's that, but we'd like to hear, more anecdotal evidence that there's people interested in the actual park rather than simply going by license holders. Where we live, we have woods and plenty of land, so we would be unlikely to use a dog park in town despite being owners of 2 dogs. And that's just an aside. My point is, with lots of people coming to us with ideas, I'll give you an example. When the folks really interested in pickleball came to us, several of us quite literally had no idea that pickleball was a popular activity here in Lenox, and that there was actually a Lenox pickleball club. So we try to be as ears to the ground as possible, but we don't know everything. So the fact that this has come to us before is a great head start. I would do a few things. I would do some empirical research on who would actually use it. And I would do some assessment of, are there actual sites out there that look viable from a, affordability or space concern, that don't have setbacks that would make it impossible to fence, things like that. And the various town departments will be very helpful to you.
They have been, thank you.
Pardon me?
They have been, absolutely. They've been already.
Okay, great. So I think you're on the right track. I think you're doing the right kinds of things.
Mr. Chair, if I could jump in, I know there's at least one, and I think possibly another participant in the meeting that would like to participate in this discussion.
Just make that happen.
Sure. I believe I see, I think it's Kate McNulty Vaughn. It's Kate MV on my screen.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Am
Oh,
I
there you
unmuted?
go.
Okay,
You're-
thank you. Yes,
Great.
I think I can answer some of the questions that came up because of a random. I was doing some looking around at the Community Preservation Coalition website a couple of days ago, and CPC money, which Neil was referring to, the pickleball effort. CPC money is also available for doing a feasibility study in support of a dog park, which kind of
Wow.
surprised me when I happened to see that, but it's not something I'm working on, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But if you go to the Community Preservation Coalition website, go on to their technical, I think the facts area, and scroll a long way down, they give an example of a town that I think is someplace in, kind of central Mass that made very, very good use of that money. Went through all of the kinds of efforts that you would need to make to find property and figure out, all of the needs of the site, et cetera. And it seemed like they did a bang up job, and they have a great park as a result. So I would recommend that you go there. And yes, I really believe that in the past, the town has tried very hard on this particular effort, but it is a little bit more difficult, I think, than it sometimes looks when you start. But I think the CPC money and the example of that other town might give you some ideas. So
Well, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I'll send a link to this to Gwen. So if you get hold of Gwen Miller, who's the land use director, she'll have the information too.
Thank you. And I would
Sure thing.
thank you very, very much. And I would ask that anyone on this call, if they are interested in joining our efforts, to please contact me. I'm happy to give you my email. We would really love this to happen. It's the only thing that would make Lenox really perfect, in my opinion.
That's what we're striving for.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I think there was,
Collectively.
I had a Pamela's iPhone with the hand raised, but the hand's been lowered. So I don't know if Pamela's iPhone still wants to speak. I'll ask them to unmute.
Hi, Chris. This is Pam Keever,
Oh, hi, Pam.
also known as Pamela. Yes. I really just had a quick question. I kind of have a vague recollection that in one of our budgets of the last couple of years, there was some money set aside for the dog park. Maybe that was when it was looking closer. My question was that money put into reserve in case this came to be ultimately, or did that go back into the general fund?
I think I can attempt to answer that. I don't remember the year specifically. I think it was around, it was around the same time that the discussion was initially starting. And whereas those funds were obviously unspent because we don't have a dog park, it would have eventually flowed back to the general fund.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I'll try and I'll research what year that was exactly, but it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I kind of remember a town meeting item at some point.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the dog park? Or future dog park, I should say. Moving on, we'll move to the public hearing for the all alcohol hotel license for LH Manager Northeast LLC, 194 Pittsfield Road.
And Attorney Lynch is here representing the applicant, and I think Mr. Lane has the posting to read.
Yep. Mr. Chair, if I may, I'll read the notice, the public notice. Notice is hereby given that a hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen in their capacity as licensing board on an application for a new annual all alcoholic hotel license, which has been filed with the local licensing board. LA Manager Northeast LLC, Evan Bailey, manager for premises located at 194 Pittsfield Road, Lenox, and consisting of 65 rooms and a 2-story structure. The hotel reception and lounge area will be new construction built on the southerly end of the existing building. The lounge will be 1-story with immediate access to an outdoor patio on the westerly and south side of the building. The entire hotel is approximately 24,146 square feet with a reception area of 200.16 square feet. The lounge is 726.64 square feet, and the outdoor patio will be 1,635 square feet. There are 4 entrances and exits total. The board will act on said application on Wednesday, March 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Auditorium and via Zoom. So with that, if I may, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. My name is Jeff Lynch. I'm an attorney with an office at 68 Main Street in Lenox. With me tonight on Zoom is Charles Snyder. Charles is the head of hospitality for Ross Development. Ross is the entity under contract to purchase the Days Inn. Also with me is Daniel Levine. Mr. Levine is the leader of food and beverage for the applicant. The applicant does business under the name Lifehouse. And so I'll talk about that a little bit more. Mr. Evan Bailey, an employee of the applicant, is the proposed manager. Unfortunately, due to a immediate family emergency, he was unable to be with us tonight, and that's why Mr. Levine is here. Mr. Levine, again, is Mr. Bailey's supervisor and will be able to answer any questions that may arise regarding operational questions. As I stated, Ross Development is under contract to buy 194 Pittsfield Road. It's currently operated as the Days Inn by Wyndham. The development plan includes a complete renovation of the existing structure and the construction of a new registration building. That registration building is going to house a registration area and a small bar area of approximately 700 square feet. Our application tonight is for a Section 12 all alcohol hotel license that would authorize the service of beverages throughout the hotel facility, including the guest rooms. The applicant, Lifehouse, is going to operate by and have occupancy through a lease agreement. That lease agreement was included with the submission packet. One point of clarification on the packet that you did receive, there was a floor plan for the proposed addition. That's really the focus area. And the bar area stated a seat count of 30. We've since looked at that, and there's certainly a separation between what would be the registration area and the bar area, and the bar seat count would be approximately 22 seats. The type of service that we're proposing is as an amenity to the hotel guests. It'll be an area for coffee, breakfast, pre-made breakfasts, and then light fare to complement the cocktails that would be served at the bar area. There is not a proposal, and as you'll see on the plan for any kind of full kitchen. This is not going to have a range and a hood. It's not going to have a fryer. This is basically a convenience area for the guests of the hotel, as I think some of us have experienced when we travel, really an area to congregate. In terms of the applicant itself, LH Manager Northeast LLC, it does operate in 2 other hotels. Well, I should say 1 hotel in Nantucket under LH Management LLC. So it does have a liquor license here in the Commonwealth. It's been approved previously by another municipality. And they are also, through an affiliated corporation, they are also the operators of Wheatley at this time. So they have local experience also. Mr. Bailey, who is the focus and will be the full-time manager at the facility, has over 10 years of experience in the hospitality business. He's currently an employee of the applicant and counts as his previous work experience, including Starwood Capital, Cornell University, and Thompson Hotel Nantucket Island Resort. Mr. Bailey, in addition to LH, has in his hospitality career, they neither have any kind of disciplinary action through the ABCC. They are eminently qualified to operate and bring the Days Inn to a new small boutique hotel standard, which will really complement and be a benefit to Lenox. The hours that are being requested for operation of alcohol service are Mondays through Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. On Fridays, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. On Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. And on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. The earlier hours are simply to accommodate any of the guests' desires for a morning cocktail, such as a Bloody Mary or a mimosa. As the board is aware, we are allowed to apply and the board's allowed to issue a liquor license as requested, even though the structure has not been built. Under section 15 of chapter 138, you are allowed to permit or grant the liquor license. The liquor license will actually issue after the facility is constructed in accordance with the plans that have been submitted. So that is the authority for you to do so at this earlier time. And we request it because it is a contingency in one of our contractual obligations to go forward with the purchase of the Days Inn. It's a necessity to have the various permits and licenses in place, or at least granted, to be issued for the various financial and transactional requirements that we have to move forward. I'm certainly open to any questions that the board may have. Again, Mr. Snyder is with us and Mr. Levine for any other specifics that we can help the board understand about the project.
Thank you, Jeff. Why don't I hold conversation to the select board members at first and then welcome comment to those representing abutting neighbors and others after that, if people don't mind. So,
Jeff, sorry.
Go ahead, Ed.
No, just to put it in perspective so people understand what we're building here. You're building a patio that's going to be about, what, 40 by 40?
Yes, I think it measures about 1,600 square feet. It's circular, so there's some angles there. So yes.
Yeah, so it's about that size. And then an 726 foot lounge. Just a place where you walk in.
A bar area. Yes, an area to congregate, and there's a small bar that will be set up for bar seating.
And you said 30 people?
22 will be the seating.
22, okay.
Yeah, 22. The plan does show 30, so you're correct in your reading of it, but that number has been revised down.
Okay. So we're not looking at a huge structure here. in my opinion.
Absolutely not. And if, as you can see on your plans, very complementary architecturally to the existing structure that's already there. It's really to just help facilitate registration for the inn as we reconfigure the existing structure. It will allow us to create 5 more rooms. So it's not a large expansion whatsoever. It's basically just a reconfiguration of how it exists today to allow a better flow of business and to allow us to raise the level of this hotel from sort of a mid-range motel area to more of a boutique hotel. We foresee, and this would certainly be part of the zoning application, but we would foresee certainly that room rates would increase. We would increase the occupancy, thus benefiting the town through additional room rates. The structure itself, as you may know, is rather dated, need of substantial updates from health and safety perspective to just operational perspective.
Got it.
Jeff, can I ask, it looks like the structure is going to be built on the south end between the building and the pool area that currently exists?
That's accurate.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
So I know that the registration area currently is about 2/3 of the way north on the hotel. So I'm assuming that area would be made into some of the additional rooms if you're moving the registration area south.
That's accurate. Yes, that's the plan. That's where we're finding the space within the existing structure for the rooms. There'll be no new rooms in the new construction area. That's all for registration.
Great, thank you.
Jeff, you're essentially looking for this prior to building or actually even knowing your outcome with the ZBA because of the, I'll call them unique circumstances of your financial backing. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes, that's an accurate statement. Our contract itself requires and allows for the contingency on the issuance of the liquor license, and the way that we obviously have with timing between zoning applications, and then if we're successful this evening with ABCC approval, we're hoping that all of those sort of timeframes will sort of coalesce together to allow us for a spring purchase.
I'll query my fellow board members. Have you been copied on the letter we received this afternoon from Attorney Goebel?
Yes.
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 I don't know what time that was, but it was certainly afternoon time. He represents a pretty considerable number of folks in that residential neighborhood. And this is, he presents what I consider not capricious concerns. While I understand from Jeff the timing issues, the arrival of this letter from 12 Oaks and the ZBA has not actually met on this yet, has me considering deferring our action on this until we know more from the ZBA and to give us some time to digest this a set of concerns from 12 Oaks that we just received today.
I didn't have the benefit or the courtesy of receiving that correspondence, so I'm a little in the dark. We have been speaking with 12 Oaks. We started a conversation with 12 Oaks probably 2+ weeks ago. 12 Oaks administration was cooperative with us. We had asked just so that we could make sure. So to back up, I have clearly the recognition that many of the 12 Oaks residents may not live at 12 Oaks during the winter time, during this season. So I reached out to Attorney Goebel. I asked whether he could share all the winter addresses with us with all the residents so that we could make sure that they'd be copied on our application and have notice of this hearing. We then engaged in a series of conversations with Attorney Goebel regarding both the zoning application and the awareness of this liquor license application. But for an unknown conflict of interest, we would have had that zoning meeting last week. Given the fact that we are in communication with 12 Oaks, have been in communication with 12 Oaks, and have been sharing information freely, I guess, until later this afternoon, when I didn't receive that letter. I would certainly ask you not to defer this, because the information that you have relative to the liquor license approval is fully complete. We are looking to construct that building with the layout as presented. It's a Section 12 hotel license with regulated hours. The Zoning Board of Appeals will have the ability to then further address the special permit and the amendment to the existing special permit for that to construction occur. If that doesn't coalesce for us with the Zoning Board of Appeals, then your work here is the license doesn't issue, as I said before. Section 15, which governs the liquor license application process, which is what I'm asking that we confine our conversation to, anticipates buildings to be constructed and with liquor license to issue before they are complete. So I would certainly ask that the board continue the discussion on this and not defer. I don't see what is to be gained from this perspective. There are plenty of hotels in Lenox, B&Bs. As we know, our master plan puts a strong emphasis on tourism dollars, the rent or the room tax that is generated by that. Having the liquor license at this facility is part and parcel of what will allow the applicant to make this hotel transformation a success. It's one doesn't go without the other, certainly. And so for that reason, I think it gives us some additional clarity. It'll help the Zoning Board of Appeals with clarity to know that we've checked all the boxes that are required. And to the extent that and as we know, with your approval, we still go through the ABCC, and this gives them ample opportunity to come back with additional questions or concerns. But as it stands, I feel that we have presented a clear application. We have an excellent operator, first class, that the town should really look forward to being an operator in this town and complementing its other property in Wheatley. This is a win, and so I would ask you not to defer.
I'm going to just jump in here because I did read the letter very late this afternoon and took myself up there to take a look at the property and its proximity to 12 Oaks, and went up to 12 Oaks and drove that neighborhood, came back down, drove through Days Inn. And from what Attorney Lynch is saying, it seems like this is going to be a substantial upgrade to what is currently there. A substantial upgrade in the services that are offered, in the quality of the rooms that are currently there. And I think it's definitely a win. They're only asking to add a very modest addition so that they can have bar and convenience area, which seems like a perfect fit for a boutique hotel. And I think it would be an upgrade to what is currently in that area. So I would concur with Attorney Lynch's assessment of this, taking into account, what the neighbors have said. It's in a commercial district. That commercial district is there. It's been there. You're not changing the quality. You're not changing the neighborhood in any way except upgrading it.
Can I ask Mr. Goebel a question?
Certainly.
Yes.
What is it that the neighbors are finding that they don't like about this? Is it the hours of operation? Is it worried about noise? Is it, what is there a specific thing that's got people that don't like it, don't want it?
Noise is the short answer to the question. We talked with and worked with Jeff Lynch on a number of issues when this petition first came in, and we worked out a number of areas, but there was nothing in the application, either for the ZBA permit or in this license, for that matter, that talks about entertainment outside of the building. But it became clear in our discussion that that was not something that they were willing to forego. They wanted to have the ability to have outdoor entertainment on the site, and that's the concern we have. I'd be happy to address the delay issue as well as the substantive issues I put in my letter. The letter I sent was substantially the same letter that I sent to the ZBA. There are not that many differences in consideration as to the issues of noise, traffic, parking, and the effect on the community. So that that's the basis of our concern. If we could get I agree with what Ms. Mitz said, that as proposed, it will be an upgrade to the neighborhood. But with the noise that they're not willing to, that they want to feature on the property, and they're not willing to say that they will not have for the outside entertainment, it's something that we adamantly oppose. We have 30 high value residences up there that have a spectacular setting, and the substantial common features that we have are just above this property line. We have an outdoor pool and we have a clubhouse, and that's where our unit owners enjoy the summertime. And we don't even allow music at our pool. We really want to enjoy the quiet and peacefulness that that site gives, and to allow the entertainment, which is what they're talking about, and won't say that they're willing to consider not having, that's going to interfere with us. If we could have this permit with a covenant or an agreement or a limitation that there be no outdoor entertainment, I think we could be happy with this. But if we're not going to get that promise or that willingness to agree to that, then we oppose the application. As to the consideration as to which goes first, we're already getting conflicting information. The application before the ZBA says that there were 32 seats inside the facility. Now we're hearing that it's going to be 30. So maybe we need a new plan before the ZBA, but it's not just those seats inside. There are 30 seats outside as well that they show on their plan. So we're over 60 seats that they're going to have for this lounge bar facility inside and outside, with the ability to have outdoor entertainment, which is our concern. So I think that number of seats, the fact that their traffic study, as I said, makes no mention about this additional use. It only talks about the conversion of adding a few more rooms. It doesn't mention at all that they're going to add a public facility, a restaurant and bar that's open to the public, which they do not have now. So that traffic study cannot work for purposes of looking at and analyzing this situation. And you all know how hard it is to get into and out of those properties on Route 7 because of the difficulties in both getting in if you're coming from the north and getting out if you're going to the south. It's very, very difficult. And that's only going to be worse, particularly when this extra traffic is going to be in there for this entertainment. And aside from the traffic, this extra load that these 62 seats are going to bring is going to make their parking inadequate from what they have asked for in the ZBA. They've only got enough spaces for the hotel use and the employees use, but not enough to include the requirement for the spaces for the restaurant and bar use, whether without the entertainment. So these are all conditions that are squarely within the permitting process before the ZBA. And that's why I think that the ZBA ought to have the full air for that. Now, with due respect to what Jeff says about his contract provisions, I mean, there are two pieces here. One is, getting a license to run this is one thing, but that license can only be granted if not just we have a building that isn't built, we have a building that can't be built yet. There's no permit to build this building. And that building may change before we get the permit for it. So you will have been talked about giving a license out for a building that there's not even a permit for, let alone that it's not constructed yet. And the contingency they have for financing can't be only on the issue of a license being issued. It must also be on the issue of getting the permit to actually construct this place in the first sense. So I really think that we've got the cart before the horse here. The ZBA is the board that addresses by the bylaw, the zoning bylaw, these other significant issues, traffic, parking, effect on the neighborhood, not to mention noise. Noise is clearly central within the parameters of what this board can do in a license application. It's one of the central pieces of an alcoholic beverage license. But I still think that the best method, rather than having this thing go back and forth with changes, is just let the ZBA do their thing and make their decision. And I'm sure I won't be here, depending on what the ZBA does, I won't be back at the next select board meeting on this because we will have either resolved or not resolved our issues before the ZBA.
If there's not a follow-up question from the board to Attorney Goebel, I'd certainly obviously like to respond to some of that.
Yes, I didn't remember seeing anything about a restaurant in this proposal, and Attorney Lynch stated that there was not going to be a hood, you know, in a kitchen, and so I didn't see any outlay for a restaurant.
Well, the noise is the issue that I have the concern with. And if Attorney Lynch would say that they will not have, and they'll make it a condition of their permit, outdoor entertainment, then I think we could be happy. I mean, the restaurant by itself is not the issue. It's the entertainment that they plan to give, and they want to keep the right to give as part of this license for the public.
Well, just anecdotally, I don't know about you, but every time I've been outside in the Berkshires, unless I've been in Tanglewood after 5 o'clock, the mosquitoes are horrendous.
Well, then it should be easy for them to say no outside entertainment. What's the difficulty then in saying, okay, fine, we'll save our guests from mosquitoes and not allow for outside entertainment? We'd be happy.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question.
Sure.
So are we talking about two licenses here, one a liquor license and one an entertainment license, John or Jeff? Because the liquor license is one thing, the entertainment license is something else.
And thank you, Mr. Roach, for bringing that up. So with our innkeeper's license, there was an entertainment license filed with that. And I was going to inquire this evening on the status of that. They are two separate licenses. They have two different statutes that control whether they can be issued and under what conditions. Focusing on an entertainment license, this is the board to grant an entertainment license. The standard is whether granting it affects the public health, safety, or order. And in considering those three factors, the number one factor is it creating an unreasonable increase, not no increase, an unreasonable increase in the level of noise in the area. And so that brings me to wanting to focus in again on where we are. So we are on 194 Pittsfield Road, the busiest road in the entire county. There is a noise from that traffic constantly. We are down gradient of 12 Oaks. Their closest building, which is their clubhouse, is 120 feet approximately from our back corner. Their closest residential structure, which there's only one, is over 200 feet away, both of which are up gradient of us, both of which have a full canopy of mature trees and vegetation between the two properties. There is a stone berm wall, rock wall, some of it natural, some of it created by 12 Oaks. 12 Oaks as a development built next to an existing hotel. This used to be the Swiss Chalet back from the 70s. They built their they built their residences next to a commercial district. The building immediately to the south of us is a manufacturing facility. There are other hotels on the street similarly situated to us that have full use of a liquor license. I think this board has to compartmentalize what is being sought here. We are seeking, one, a liquor license. Is it an appropriate use for a hotel to be issued a liquor license to serve its guests and to promote the town of Lenox, increase tourism? The answer is yes on all fours. I'm not aware of this board ever denying or conditioning the issuance of a liquor license to a new tourism facility trying to come into town. The second issue is entertainment. And Mr. Goebel made clear during our previous conversations the concerns about noise. But again, the sensibilities of 12 Oaks and sitting at their pool, they said themselves that they like to enjoy their peace and quiet. I think that's indicative of how sound travels up to their property. And the answer is it doesn't, because it wouldn't be quiet with the noise of the existing hotel, the traffic that's already in and out of that hotel, plus Route 7. I live myself personally fairly close to Route 7, and it is constant noise. And then the other point is that this hotel already operates with a food license. So we are simply changing the location and the method of how that food license is used. So this is not a creation of a restaurant. This is an amenity for guests. It's simply a convenience for some pre-made breakfast, bagels, croissants, and coffee, and a place for a small number of those guests to congregate while they wait for their friends or families or wait while check-in is occurring. This is a convenience, and it is a part of what will make this an inviting location, given the amount of money and capital that's going to be spent to renovate it, to make it the boutique and very attractive place that we believe it will be. So I asked the board to again address this as, one, the liquor license, and then two, there is a pending entertainment license that I missed it not being placed on the agenda, and I don't know if that was an oversight, but there is an entertainment aspect of this too, certainly an entertainment license. As you can see with the size of the facility, this is not going to be a robust event hall. This is for, ambient music for people that are at the, that are checking in, that are relaxing on that patio when they're able to. And the other thing that I can add about the patio is that it's on the west side of the building. So to the extent that there's any noise that's generated from there, not only does it have to go up gradient through all the vegetation and the rock walls that I spoke of, but it would also have to progress itself around the building. So we've done a lot of homework about site planning to be cognizant of who our neighbors are and the type of facility that we're trying to have. And so the board can address under the standards of an entertainment license, how they would like that to be regulated, if at all. But again, being able to, with the requested no outdoor entertainment, that's not exactly clear with 12 Oaks request, because during our earlier conversations, it was absolutely no amplified music, period. That means a speaker that sits on the patio was a rejected option during our discussions. So again, I think the board should look at this as, how does it benefit Lenox? Do we check the boxes for issuance of a liquor license, which we say, yes, it's fully appropriate. And I also think, like has been done on other similarly situated properties in applications, the entertainment license should be on the consent agenda, as it is just part and parcel and not overly intrusive to what already exists or what is planned by these operators.
Could I respond again to some of that presentation from Mr. Lynch?
I'm sorry, John, were you asking a question?
Yes, if I could respond to some of the comments that Jeff just made.
You may.
All right, well, I mean, we're now hearing that it already, even from Mr. Lynch's position, it's apparently a piecemeal operation. We've got the license for alcohol tonight, and then another hearing on the entertainment, which frankly is the most important piece that we're concerned about. We hear that about this being a boutique upgrade of a hotel, but this hotel, half the rooms are on the second floor and there's no elevator. And I don't know of too many, high-end, let alone mid-range hotels that don't have an elevator for their guests to get to the second floor. I think this is just a remake of the 59 rooms that are there, with a couple more being added, and then we're putting on this accommodation that is going to be open to the public. The inability to agree to this lack of outdoor entertainment in the face of what the rest of the hotel is going to look like is just baffling to me. You would think that they would be happy to accommodate us in terms of that noise. And I can say that, yes, Route 7 is not a quiet highway, but the noise of traffic is different from the noise of music or entertainment that we're going to hear. Then we're directly downwind. I mean, our pool, where our guests and our residents enjoy the outdoors, is directly downwind to the west from this facility. And the seating that Jeff talks about isn't all on the west side of the building. They have a fair amount, about a third of that seating is on the south side of the building, adjacent to the entrance into the hotel, which would directly go upstairs. So to say that, and who knows where this music is going to come from, whether it's going to come from that part of this patio or the other part of the patio. We don't have any parameters on what their plans are. I mean, maybe we should ask that, is what kind of entertainment that is proposed here, and how is it going to be conducted, so that we can really have a totally informed decision about what we're talking about. But I still go back to the position of, this is, we're already piecemeal. Let's send it back to the ZBA, who address these issues that I'm talking about. The neighborhood effects, traffic, parking, these are the issues that are directly in their bailiwick.
Go ahead, Mary Beth.
I honestly don't think, having been up there just this afternoon, you get out of the car, stand in front of their clubhouse, the clubhouse that's at 12 Oaks. The pool is sort of directly above the pool for the other place. There's noise from the highway. I really don't think that if there's some ambient outdoor, cocktail music playing next to the bar area, that anyone is going to hear it. Because as Jeff said, there are trees and rocks. That neighborhood has been there for at least 10 years and did build itself right next to an existing hotel. It doesn't sound like they're going to have, the Who coming to do outdoor entertainment for a 60-room hotel. They're only going to modify it by moving the registration area. I really don't think it's a change in the use of the establishment. However, I'm not on the ZBA, so it's not my job to make that determination. That will be for the ZBA to discuss. I think that they should be, that we should be able to issue a liquor license, because that amenity would be fine at this particular hotel.
But the reality is, it is a change of use in that there is no service to the public at that site right now at all. This is going to change that with no limitations. I mean, yes, it's nice to hear, we talk about ambient music that no one's going to hear, but we don't know that. We don't know what's proposed. So it's a change in use because we have a new use that's coming in that just was not there before, that's open to the public, and that's going to obviously be designed to attract the public. I mean, that's what they want to do, is to maximize the value out of what they're out of their operation. And those are the issues that I think that the ZBA should be dealing with, rather than our doing this here in two pieces: alcohol license first, and then entertainment license second.
Again, there
Well,
wasn't.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Mr. Maximilian. So there is an entertainment license pending. I don't know where that sat with the board and why that can't be addressed now or where that is. But regardless, I think all of the issues that are raised by Attorney Goebel are the ZBA. This is a liquor license application for the hotel. The statute gives you the authority to issue it based upon a building to be constructed, and that license issues when it's constructed in accordance with the plans. If the ZBA feels that it's appropriate for them to regulate this construction or deny it, that's the discussion to have then. You can't be asked to interject yourself into the ZBA's role. And again, so I renew my request that the board take up the liquor license. And I would also, request that it address the entertainment as one would expect of a hotel this size with only a 700 square foot room for a bar. There's nothing dramatic that's going to occur here. Think of, a solo guitarist, if that, a jazz trio during a light brunch. This is not a concert hall. Everything is part and parcel of what we've seen with other similar applications that have gone through and been approved. Use the Courtyard by Marriott as a prime example. They have a small bar area that was permitted for 22 seats, I believe. They have adjacent areas that are for guests that are registering or relaxing without being part of the bar that opens up to a public space. We are on all squares with being very substantially similar to that. And that liquor license issued. And in fact, the ZBA addressed and approved that special permit without ever any discussion about that particular use. I understand the concerns, and we worked pretty hard to make concessions with 12 Oaks going into the night of the ZBA meeting, when we were approached with, please do not ever turn on a radio outside. And it's just a condition that we can't readily accept. And that's the issue that we will talk further about through the ZBA hearing, but this is not the ZBA. And so I would request again for the liquor license.
And-
Mr. Chair.
I'd personally like to not be reminded for the 12th time that this isn't the ZBA. I appreciate that instruction, Jeff, and I'm well aware of that. However, I'll ask Chris, I am not aware of us issuing a liquor license to an entity to build something that they don't know that they can build yet. And still needing permission from the ZBA to actually build it. To me, it seems a little cart before the horse. Chris, are you aware that we've issued liquor licenses to entities before they even have permission to build the building that they contemplate using that liquor license for?
I'm not recalling an instance where a special permit was pending before ZBA, and a liquor. I could be wrong about that. I'm simply not recalling. So, but yeah, none come to mind. Mr. Chair, if I may, without obviously not wanting to stifle questions from the board, I do note that we have at least one member of the public wishing to participate in the public hearing.
Okay, let's acknowledge that, and I will keep my comments brief. But I was going to follow on that question to you with my very simple and 10,000-foot view of this. We are sitting here today with an application which under normal circumstances might be simple. We were presented just this afternoon with a reasonably substantial opposition to this application. Not all of us had the opportunity to peruse the area as did Mary Beth. And that's something I would certainly like the opportunity to do. Knowing that you're going to go before the ZBA no matter what, that's an immutable fact. I don't see the necessity of us making our decision today before you get true answers from the ZBA. I simply can't be convinced of that. That's all I have to say about that, and I'll recognize members of the audience that wish to speak.
I see.
Was it
Ms.
Renee
Rhodes.
that wanted? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
and Renee.
Thank you very much. From what I understand, you are proposing a 1,600 square foot patio with entertainment that will be going on until 1 a.m. several nights of the week. I would very much encourage all of you, as Mary Beth did, to visit the High Crest Road, because you can hear every single bit of noise from Route 7. And yes, the trees do offer some buffering, but you may want to hire an acoustician to find out just how bad this situation actually would become. Now, I would like to ask you again, as Mr. Goebel did, to define what you mean as entertainment, because I'm very concerned about amplified entertainment and the amount of sound that would generate to those of us who live on High Crest Road. I appreciate that Mary Beth took the time and trouble to visit High Crest Road, and I would encourage you all to do that, because you will find that you can hear everything.
But Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say that we don't have an entertainment license in front of us. And I concur with your observation on the liquor license as well. In my 10 years as a selectman, we've never, ever issued a license on something that hasn't already been built. I mean, we've issued licenses on vacant buildings. But we've always seen what we were listening or issuing a license on. But number one, we don't have an entertainment license, and number two, I kind of join your way of feeling about the liquor license as well. Geez, I hope I didn't say all that with my muted. No.
No, we heard you loud and clear, David, which
okay.
Brings me full circle to something I said a long time ago. It wasn't very popular at the time, but I honestly feel the correct action by the board, given limited information, no information on the entertainment license, and certainly no outcome by the ZBA, that we defer our decision to a later date.
That seems reasonable.
Neil? Yeah.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I'm tending to agree with you. Too bad there's a lot of things too bad. Too bad there wasn't already an agreement made that you could play light jazz music and leave it at that, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards. I'm one of these people who hates to be rushed on something, and frankly, I feel I don't know enough right now to make a decision. And I think the right thing is to defer this until we get some more information, especially with this letter coming in. We take the neighborhood as people that we should look after. So I take what the neighbors are saying seriously. And I understand fixing the hotel up and all that stuff, and it sounds like a great project, but it's kind of a balance here. And right at the moment, I just feel like I don't know enough to make the right decision.
I'm certainly hearing that consensus, and I just want to sort of emphasize 2 points. We started the process by reaching out to 12 Oaks, and we'll continue to work with them, and hopefully be able to present something unified. The other thing is that I just want to clarify that the board's expectation is not that we would have a built facility before we return on this application itself for the issuance of the liquor license. The expectation and plan would be, since this will be deferred, is that we will address zoning board of appeals and then return. Because the project itself, we need the assurance that the licenses that we need to operate under our plan can issue or will issue. Again, there's statutory authority to allow that to happen. And we would just like clarity on that piece in particular.
Well, Jeff, I think you'll have better luck coming back to us at a later date after zoning, where you get your zoning approval, than you would be to have approval here and then go to zoning. Zoning's gonna be the tough pull. And I think if they go along with it, probably, I'm not saying, I can't speak for the board, but it's gonna be a big influence on our thinking, or my thinking anyway. So I think, as Neil said, we're putting the cart before the horse here a little bit. And I think that's the avenue that should go through.
Agreed.
So if I'm reading the board conversation correctly, it sounds like there's desire for a continuing of the public hearing. And if that's the case, then we need to specify a date for the continuance. And I'm gonna ask Mary Ellen. I believe that this is going before the ZBA again on, is it the 17th or the?
It's currently scheduled for the 24th, but with some scheduling issues that we may change that to the 7th. And so a meeting of this board after the 7th.
The 7th of?
The 7th of April.
Okay.
So if we postpone it, we don't need to go through the
notice again.
The notice and all that kind of stuff again.
Right, but I do think the board has to define a date of the continuance. In this instance, it would be the 24. It would be the 21st of April.
Okay.
So then, without being presumptuous, I would say that the motion to accomplish that would be a motion to continue the public hearing to April 21st.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll make a motion to continue the application till April 21st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you at the next round, maybe. Okay, thank you. Good night.
Okay, Ed, I think you're up again.
Yep, I'll read the public notice. Okay, a notice is hereby given that a hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen in their capacity as licensing board on an application for a new annual all alcoholic hotel license, which has been filed with the local licensing board by Gateways Inn Properties LLC, doing business as Gateways Inn. Kayla Rysuik, manager, for premises located at 51 Walker Street, Lenox, and consisting of a 2-story building, first floor including 3 dining rooms, kitchen, lounge, bar, and 2 bedrooms, outdoor patio. Second floor consists of 10 bedrooms. The main entrance is located on Walker Street, and a rear entrance and exit. The board will act on said application on Wednesday, March 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the town hall or via Zoom. So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Attorney McDonald, do you have any words that you would like to present to us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the Select Board, my name is Michael McDonald. My office is at 437 North Street in Pittsfield, and I'm here representing Gateway Inn Properties Limited Liability Company. Gateway Inn Properties is a subsidiary of Milltown Capital Investments. Participating with me on the call are Timothy Burke and Carolyn Holland. They are the managing directors of Milltown. Also with me is Kayla Rysuik, the proposed license manager, who I'll speak more about in a moment. The application is for issuance of a new all alcoholic innkeeper's license to replace the now expired license that was held by the prior owner, Garter Inn Management, excuse me. The inn is currently closed for cosmetic renovations, and the intent is to reopen the inn as the season approaches on the later to occur of either completion of the renovations or the issuance of a final license by the ABCC should the matter be passed on by this board to the ABCC after this evening's hearing. The interior layout and request regarding the definition of premises remains the same with regard to the interior of the space. So it's comprised of the various dining rooms, private rooms, bar area, and lobby. The application seeks to expand the area of service to include the patios outside for service of food and alcohol to allow for open air dining and for social distancing, which in light of COVID has become the norm and the current expectation of customers. I do need to point out that in the application in section 3, the total square footage contains a typo. It says 600, that should be 6,000. The interior space is about 3,800, slightly over 3,800 feet. So it would be 6,000 with the outdoor patio areas, which it's the intent, as was done this past summer, to cover part of that space with a tent and heater for those times when it's either too sunny, rainy, or otherwise inclement. The proposed manager under the license, as I said, is Kayla Reswick. If you look at page 5 of the application, you will see that Kayla has been employed in Lenox at Noodle and at Alta. And I need to correct one other thing with regard to her prior service, and that is that she served in the capacity of Colored Pistol, not as a server, but as the assistant general manager. Kayla is tips trained, as all servers will be, and Kayla is available to answer any questions that the board has. I appreciate the comments by Mr. Morse earlier, as they are indicative of the way in which Milltown operates its properties. And once the current renovations are completed, I think you'll see an even more attractive interior to the space that you're used to. Public notice and certified mail notice to abutters has been provided in conformance with Chapter 138, excuse me, Section 15A, and we stand ready to answer any questions and request your approval of this application to move it forward to the ABCC.
Well, from my standpoint, Mike and all, other than the addition or inclusion of the outdoor space, I don't see anything that's substantively different than what you've been doing or what the inn has been doing under prior ownership. This looks
That's correct.
A lot like prior operations, and so I don't see you looking to do anything radical here.
That's correct.
I'm certainly in favor of it, Mr. Chairman.
I think they've been a good neighbor in Lenox. Milltown, I guess I must disclose I have a somewhat of a relationship with Tim Burke, but they've done nothing but professional work, in my opinion. So I'm certainly in favor.
I just have one question. Are all the renovations to the interior complete?
Yeah, I can chime in there. I'd say 97% of the interior to the in space is complete. Just a few final wall furnishings. We have a little bit more aesthetic changes to do in the restaurant area. And we hope to complete those in the next 6 weeks or so.
And are you going to be maintaining that cute little bar truck out front for the summer?
You know, we might have something even cuter to look forward to. That may actually be moving sites. But it is mobile, so we can always reintroduce it.
I appreciate your creativity this past winter. Sorry that the weather wasn't more cooperative for you guys.
It fulfilled what we were trying to do, and it gave us some extra runway, mostly for our staff, and brought some fun outdoor space. You know, everyone's had a tough time in the indoors, especially in the restaurant business. So we very much try to get creative to extend the outdoor season a little bit more, and and enjoyed the time with the community there.
Thanks.
I'm
Go
just,
ahead, Ed.
yeah, I just want to give my endorsement also. I think it's, you know, glad to see these kind of things happening there. And really and truly, I just wish you the best of luck with it. You know, it's important it's important to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I don't see any members of the public wishing to speak, but if those members of the public are out there, they should identify themselves. I do not see anyone identifying themselves. So.
Yes, seeing none, is there any more conversation amongst the board? It's on anybody's minds.
Nope, just wishing the best of luck.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, and this is Elliot calling again, and I just want to reassert how great they are as neighbors and them trying all sorts of different things. I think it's just tremendous.
Thank you, Elliot. You know, your voice got much clearer now that you put your picture up as opposed to your monitor. So that might be a trick to think of from now on.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, should I close the public hearing or is there more?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
So, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the all alcohol hotel license application of LH Manager Northeast LLC for dated.
That's not the one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Go down one paragraph.
I move to approve the all alcohol hotel license application of Gateways Inn Properties LLC, 51 Walker Street, dated February 2, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Motion passes. Good luck, you folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, folks.
Thanks for your continued investment in Lenox. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Where does that bring us? We are to we have an officer appointment.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair. After application of Colin Benner and subsequent screening by Chief O'Brien, his affirmative recommendation, I had an opportunity to interview Mr. Benner and found him to be an outstanding candidate for the position of patrolman in the Lenox Police Department. He is a Lenox Memorial High School graduate with honors and has done coursework at Ithaca College, Greenfield Community College, where he participated in the paramedic program, Berkshire Community College, and completed the Western Massachusetts Police Academy. He's also an EMT. I found him to be very knowledgeable applicant and an exceptional young man generally. So I would like the board's ratification of my appointment of Mr. Benner to the position of patrolman.
I think he's a great addition. I'm unfortunately a recipient of his EMT services, and he acted quite professionally when I had that experience with him a few years ago. He's a fine young man, graduated with one of my daughters from LMMHS. It's a good addition to the department.
I spoke to the chief before the meeting and he speaks extremely highly of this young individual and is certainly looking forward to working with him.
I talked to the chief and to all, or not all, but many of his officers, and they all endorsed this and said they're very happy to have him on board.
That's high praise. And I would say these are the kind of moments that we bask in when we have Lenox's our own graduates come back and want to participate in our public service. So I certainly endorse this.
So a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
I move to ratify the town manager's appointment of Colin Benner to the position of patrolman department in the Lenox Police Department in accordance with Chapter 155, Section 7 of the Acts of 1991.
I'm pleased to second that nomination.
I'm pleased to ask, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations, Colin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board.
Excellent. I received notice, I don't remember if it was through conversation or email from Chris, that we do not have the community center here tonight. Excuse me, the Chamber of Commerce here tonight. Which moves us on to liaison reports. I've had some back and forth conversation with Darlene. Nothing major to report. Mostly she's concerned with what's going on with the Cork and Hearth, and I sadly don't have anything new to report to her. So that's really all I have on my end.
I don't have anything specific tonight.
I'd like to just report out with the library. This past week, there were 4 firms that qualified for qualifications for assisting with the structural aspect of the library renovations. The Permanent Building Committee interviewed the 4 firms and ranked them, and now the town manager is engaged in negotiations to select one of the firms to start the structural work. So that was well done this week. A lot of work. Thanks to the Permanent Building Committee and to our town manager. Hopefully we'll be getting that underway and get a better handle on the types of costs that we're going to be facing with that. The Affordable Housing Trust is in the process of acquiring our second home for our affordable home ownership program. That is going well. We've also put in an application for assistance from the Massachusetts Housing Partnership to structure a buy-down program for the Affordable Housing Trust, and hoping to get some technical assistance with that. And otherwise, not too much else.
I had a couple things, but Mary Beth scooped me on the Permanent Building Committee, but that's okay. That's okay. You know, it was a interesting round we went through with the 4 candidates we had, and you could have picked anyone really. They were all very good. It's going to be a real interesting project once it gets going. It's going to be fun. The next thing I had, and I guess this is as the liaison to the Department of Public Works, is with, of course, we know that Superintendent Gopp did a lot of work on the around town opening up, helping to open up the outdoor dining and all that. So discussion has started on that end right now. And Well, I think it's important, things are gonna probably change a little bit. It's probably gonna have to. It can't be the same as it was last year, but there's still gonna have to be a lot of effort put into to kind of similar things to what we did last year, maybe tweak it a little bit, because who knows what the rules and guidelines are gonna be. So we're certainly gonna need to do what we can do to draw people into town, because Tanglewood, it's up in the air, but we know it's not gonna be the normal season for Tanglewood by any stretch of the imagination. So that's going to have to be, those details of what we're going to do this summer have to be worked out. And I know I'll speak for Chris. He's looking probably for the input of all of us on the board to, what we saw last year and how it went, and maybe what we'd like to see this year and how we'd like to go about things. So I'm sure Chris would be looking forward to whatever bit of information you have to share with him, or thoughts you had on how things went last year or what we should do this year. So that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Ed. I would appreciate some input from individual board members on that, so that we can bring something forward that you can act on. Appreciate it.
Last year, you had a committee that helped you with that, right, Chris? And you don't anticipate doing that again?
I've certainly picked some folks' brains, but I think they did such a great job last year, sort of paving the way. I think just working within the framework that they were able to present to the town, I think is probably the best way to move forward. And as Ed was saying a few moments ago, maybe making some tweaks to that framework. So appreciate your input on that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, folks. Long meeting, but productive meeting. Without anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
have a safe-
Have a great night.
Two.
Thank you.